financial markets in turmoil.
What are the root causes of the financial crisis?
The dollar losing value.
Heading for its biggest loss in nearly 3 decades.
Will Social Security even be there?
I don't know.
Buy or rent?
That's a very good question.
Interest rates.
I'm not so sure.
Where do you put your money?
I don't know.
Welcome to the show that answers your questions. This is Follow the Money Weekly with your host, economist, and best-selling author. Here's Jerry Robinson.
Greetings, friends. Welcome to this week's edition of Follow the Money Weekly Radio. So glad that you're joining us, tuning in all over the country. I don't know what it is, but we have been getting a lot of traffic from Europe this week. I don't know what it is, but we've received numerous brand new FTM insiders in the Netherlands, in Germany. We've also been receiving them from the Middle East and Bahrain even. So great to have everybody aboard. Love to see people coming in from around the globe and signing up for our FTM Insider program. Today, we're going to be diving into Level 2. Now, you know right now we're in the middle of our Financial Freedom Bootcamp, right? Last week we talked about Level 1 out of our 5 levels of financial freedom. And this is a brand new year. 2014 is the year that I believe anyone can prepare, break free financially, and get ahead. It's not too late. It's going eventually to be too late, but we're not there yet. We still have time. In fact, I was just reading this week about how there has been a lot of turmoil going on in Europe, especially with the disinflation or the low inflation rates. Now, when you couple what's happening in Europe, now don't look at their stock market. It's up to the 6-year highs this week. But when you actually look at the actual economy in Europe, and then the same thing, you look at China and you see what's happening there. We've talked about this extensively, the massive credit bubble that's in China. And you take a look at all of this that's going around the globe, you begin to realize that the U.S. economy doesn't really even need to break down first for our economy to crash, because all of these different spinning plates around the world are a threat to us. And so there are numerous threats around the country, around the world, and it's not too late for you to take control of your finances. It's not too late. It's not too late. You know, I saw something very interesting this week. We have it's an article on Dave Ramsey. I don't know if you've heard of Dave Ramsey before, but we have this article about Dave Ramsey on our website. Put it up a few years ago where he was trashing gold. He was saying that gold was a dumb idea. He found out that somebody called in and said, hey, you know, this guy named Peter Schiff is on the radio or TV. He's talking about buying gold and how the economy's not in good shape. And Dave Ramsey just, you know, and if you don't know who he is, by the way, he is a faith-based debt counselor who has a radio show, tremendously popular. And I had an article on our website dismissing his take on gold and upon Peter Schiff. And there was a comment that came in this week from somebody who said that gold and silver had really taken it in the mouth, and they weren't so sure that Dave Ramsey was wrong about buying gold. Dave Ramsey says it's a bad idea. Well, all you have to do is look back for the last 13 years to see what gold has done. And we had one single year, 2013, one single year after 12 straight up years of a downtrend in gold. And suddenly, many of the newcomers to gold and silver began to get concerned, and rightfully so, I understand. Many were worried that they were already late to the party. So when they arrive to the party, and then the price of gold and silver begins to go down, they begin to say, well, maybe I am too late. Maybe the whole thing is over. And I'm here to tell you, in January 2014, that you have not seen nothing yet based upon what we see coming down the road from the central bankers of the world. In fact, gold mining stocks, which have been beaten down tremendously over the last several months especially, but the last couple of years even, are beginning to rebound. So my point in saying all of that is that gold and silver, I believe, are still hedges. And I know that many out there have decided to dismiss gold now that it's had a one down year. They think that the fix is in and gold and silver are heading down. Don't give up hope so quickly. This thing is going to turn around. In fact, this year could be a very big year for gold mining. We're making a bet or a wager on gold mining this year in our PACE investment portfolio. If you want to see what we're buying, you can become an FTM Insider and see that. But anyway, today we're going to dive into level 2. We talked about level 1 last week, and level 1 involved several things. We talked about creating a charitable giving plan, which is similar to a financial plan, but instead it estimates a goal of how much money you want to give away over your lifetime. We also talked about the need to create a go bag, a 72-hour emergency kit that contains all of life's essentials for at least 3 full days in case of a home fire, wicked weather, or some other disaster. We also talked about the need to create 3 months of food and water supplies. All this, by the way, can be found on our website. We have videos and articles to help you as you make your way in your journey towards financial freedom. Also in level 1, we talked about the need to begin a systematic savings plan. Your ultimate goal is to save at least 15% of your income each and every month, but begin where you can, right? We talked about maybe starting at 1%, maybe 2%, and then slowly making it a goal to get your savings to a level of 15% of your income. All right, then finally, we talked about in the final step of level 1 of our 5 levels of financial freedom was to build 2 months of liquid savings. And this is based on your current gross monthly income. So if you earn $3,000 a month, then we want to get $6,000 in savings before we move on to level 2. Now, level 1 is a foundational level. Again, it covers charitable giving plan, creating a go bag, food and water supplies, a systematic savings plan, and a solid base of 2 months of liquid savings. Now, someone may say, is 2 months enough? No, don't get too ahead of me now. Because once we get to level 3, we're going to up that to 6 months of liquid savings. But right now in level 1, we're just going to get 2 months tucked away before we move into level 2. Now that we have covered level 1 last week, we're going to move into level 2 this week. And level 2 is all about asset, income, and life protection. This is the moat we talked about last week. Last week we talked about the importance of making sure that you build and construct a moat before you build your castle. It's a very basic concept, really pushed forward in the financial planning community by economist Robert Castellone. And this idea of a moat and a castle, I think, just nails it. As so many people try to focus upon offense, they try to invest, they try to go out there and get very proactive, but they don't play defense so much. And as we said last week, sure, offense on a football team will fill up a stadium, but it's the defense that wins the championship. So let's talk about defense. And by the way, I'm joined today with very, very special occasion. You hear my wife, Jennifer, on the program each and every week for our Trigger Trade Report. She is the managing editor here at FTM Daily. She is the national director of our Christian Financial Advisor Network. She is heavily involved in all facets of our business. Jennifer, great to have you on the program today.
Thanks a lot, Jerry. It's really good to be here. In addition to the Trigger Trade Report this week, usually that's all I get to do. Yeah,
that's not all you do, obviously, every week. You're very, very busy with all the other facets of our business, but it's great to have you on the program, a nice, soft female voice as opposed to my rough, grovelly male voice. So I appreciate you coming on. And, Jennifer, by the way, not only does she run many of the different facets of our business, but she also is highly credentialed. She has a master's degree in finance from the University of Tulsa. She's worked in corporate finance, and, of course, she runs many of the businesses that we have here. And we, of course, have several different businesses. That's what we talk about, creating multiple streams of income. And we're going to talk about that in level 5. So stick around for our 5 levels of financial freedom, because when we get to level 5, and just the last part of level 4, we're going to talk about creating those multiple streams of income and the importance of having multiple streams of income. But we're going to start today, level 2, asset, income, and life protection. And Jennifer's here to join me because we really put this system together. That was a few years ago, wasn't it? We put this system together. We began to present it across the country, and we began to speak in churches and many different places, conferences, delivering this message of 5 levels of financial freedom. And you've heard it more than anybody in the world, obviously, because you helped me craft it, and you obviously have a lot of input on it. So I look forward to that. let's break this down. If you're following along online, you go to ftmdaily.com/5 levels, and then just click through and read until you get to level 2. And as we get to level 2, here's what we find. The very first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make decisions to protect, first of all, our assets. These things include assets like our automobile or our home, maybe a second home. Whatever we have, we want to make sure that we've protected that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Then we're going to talk about the income protection, your number one asset in this world. We're going to talk about that, protecting your income. And then finally, life protection, life insurance, wills, trusts. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. Let's begin with asset protection, talking about your automobile. Now, there's plenty to read on our website, ftmdaily.com/5 levels on this. I'm only going to skim the surface. But let's talk about auto insurance. How can you make sure that your auto insurance is structured in such a way that it's optimized and at the same time it's providing you a great defense? Well, first of all, as we talked about last week, so many people are underinsured with their auto insurance. In fact, I was looking online earlier, and I saw that there are some very low state minimum requirements around the country. Like, for example, I don't know if you knew this, Jennifer, but in Oklahoma, the lowest that you can actually purchase for your minimum requirements on your car, as far as the liability goes, is $10,000 to cover a collision, and $20,000 total for any kind of damages. That is absolute. I mean, all you have to do is T-bone a new Lexus, and you're already, facing bankruptcy if you don't have any savings.
That's extremely low limits, and I know that what we have is, pretty much the most that you can get, and it's not that much more per month if you find the right insurance company. The right insurance company will get you a policy that is pretty affordable, and you can get those nice high limits of liability. And especially, Jerry, if you're on level 2 of our 5 levels, that means you have 2 months of liquid savings, right? And so that means you've gone through level 1 and you have your 2 months of savings. And so you can afford to raise up those deductibles a little bit. Most people have a really low deductible because they don't have much savings to cover something if it were to happen. And so now you're prepared because you have gone through level 1 and you have done the dirty work of saving that money. And so you can raise those deductibles and have a really affordable policy. That's
so true. And when it comes to insurance, I mean, I know people's eyes start to roll in the back of their head. They say, oh my gosh, I want to talk about something else. No one else can decide how much protection you should have except you, right? In other words, you have to decide up front, because as we said last week, you cannot buy insurance when you need it, right? If you need insurance, you can't buy it. You can't get in a wreck and go buy more auto insurance, right? You can't get cancer and then go get health insurance. Oh,
actually, you can now.
Obamacare changed that whole thing, didn't they? That's why insurance rates are going to go so high. But you can't die and then go buy a life insurance policy, can you? You can't go die then buy a will, can you? It doesn't make sense. So you have to think about these things ahead of time. And unfortunately, so many people don't think about these things, and they should. So that's what this show is here to do. It's here to remind you about some of these things that we really need to think about if we want to be financially free.
And Jerry, that's the main point in level 2, is that we are not, we're going to talk about several different types of insurance in level 2, but we are not saying you must buy every single one to the maximum possible amount that you can buy, but we are saying please closely examine the policies you already have in place and examine your potential need for these other types of insurance and protections, and make the conscious decision to purchase or not purchase. Make that decision and be able to sleep at night knowing that you have made an educated decision on whether you need these or not.
Think about it this way. If you had a car that was stolen, Would you want a check from the insurance company just for the amount that you need to get by, or would you want a check for the full replacement value of the car? I mean, I think I know what I would want. I would want the full replacement of the car. What about a house? If it were to suddenly burn down, let's say your house just burned down to the ground, would you want the insurance company to send you a check to rebuild half of the house? Or would you want the check for the full replacement cost of the home? How about if you became permanently disabled? Would you want your income to be drastically reduced every month to a level that would just give you enough to get by? Or would you rather continue to receive a monthly check that reflected your full income before the disability? Right? These are the kind of questions we want to ask ourselves ahead of time. What if you were to unexpectedly die? Would you want your spouse and children to receive a check just to cover their most basic needs and not a penny more? Or would you want them to receive a check for 100% of your human economic life value? That is, if you were planning on working for 20 more years, what if you could provide that income in the form of life insurance to your family? Now, these are things that you don't have to do, but these are things that you must decide upon, I think is the right way to say it, because no one else can decide that for you. Do you want to drive around with bald auto insurance? Well, I don't recommend that anybody do that, but if you don't have any assets, then it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? I can understand that. But if you have any assets, if you have anything worth protecting at all, you really got to reassess these things. So when it comes to auto insurance, let's just talk real logistics real quickly. First of all, auto insurance, we want to make sure that our deductible is as high as we can possibly justify based upon how much savings we have. By raising the deductible, you're going to lower the amount of monthly outflow that you have to pay for the insurance policy. Second of all, we would really urge you to raise those limits of liability to provide you great protection, because many cars out there on the road today are extremely expensive. And again, you T-bone a Lexus, you T-bone a brand new Toyota, and you got a paltry little Geico or one of these cheap insurance policies that just state minimum. You're paying the cheapest that you can. You're saving money on insurance. Well, you're going to find out real quickly that $10,000 check is not going to cover anything but the front half of that car, because you're going to have to pay for the entire thing if you total it. So auto insurance, a very important thing to keep in mind. Homeowners insurance, how do you view that? Well, the same thing. You want full replacement value if you can get it. And second of all, you want to also make sure that all of the little things that you have in your house, take a video or a picture of all your valuables. In the event that you're robbed or in the event that your house burns down, you want to have proof that those things were in your house, and you want to get a separate rider for those. If you have expensive jewelry, especially those of you who hold gold and silver in your home, these are the kinds of things that you want to alert your insurance company to in the form of a rider to protect yourself in the event of a fire or, again, theft or anything like that. So homeowners insurance, again, very important as well. And then we finally talk about liability insurance. Liability insurance is no doubt one of the most important types of insurance that you can carry. And this is known as an umbrella policy because it acts like an umbrella over and above your home and auto insurance. So let's say that you have, a pretty good amount covering you on your auto insurance, maybe $250,000 in protection. And let's say you've got another, another $300,000 on your home. Well, let's say that somebody comes to your house and slips and falls on the ice and wants to sue you. The liability insurance kicks in over and above that $300,000 insurance you have on your house and covers the rest. Usually $1 million policy does the job. Okay, so after we cover our auto, home, and liability insurance, the next step is to move into income protection, your greatest asset. And when we ask this question, so many times we get wrong answers. Many people say that my greatest asset's my home, or maybe it's my really expensive car, or maybe it's my college education. None of those are right. Maybe they say it's my business. It's not your business. What is it? Your greatest asset is your ability to earn an income. If you lose the ability to earn an income, then all of your future earning potential is gone. Poof. With a simple disability. Let's say that you're 35 years old. You're currently earning about $50,000 a year. If you're like most people, you're planning on retiring around, say 65. So over the next 30 years, if we take that $50,000, we extrapolate it all the way out, your earning potential is at least $1.5 million. So if you don't have an asset that's worth more than $1.5 million, then that is your greatest asset. And what's so ironic about it is that so many people do not cover that particular asset. So you'll find out that they're paying $50, $60, $70, $80, $90 to insure their $15,000 car. But their $1.5 million, in this case, $1.5 million asset of their ability to earn income is totally uncovered. It's totally unprotected. And so how do you protect it? You protect it with a disability insurance policy. Most companies today offer some sort of short-term or long-term disability benefits to their employees. And I would urge you to run, not walk, to your HR department next week. If you don't already have short-term and long-term disability, go ahead and sign up for it. It's usually pennies. It's usually not that much, and it will save your hide if something were to happen to you. So it's a very small price to pay. If you're not employed somewhere where they offer it, you can purchase a individual policy, but they do tend to be a little bit pricey. Not real expensive. And it really all depends on your income and your age and many other factors and the danger of your income, of your occupation. But you're so much more likely to become disabled than you are to die prematurely. There's so many statistics that are out there. 3 in 10 workers entering the workforce today will become disabled before retiring, according to the Social Security Administration. In the last 10 minutes, since we began this program, 500 Americans have become disabled. And what's interesting is 70% of the private sector workforce has no long-term disability insurance at all. Now, there's a lot of ins and outs with disability insurance, and we've provided a lot of free information there on our website about it. I would encourage you to go there. Again, ftmdaily.com/5 levels, and you can go through all that information. The next portion, or the next step after disability insurance, is we want to take a look at our health insurance.
That's right. We want to look at health insurance, and health insurance, the landscape has changed dramatically over the last year due to the Affordable Care Act put in place. And so more Americans are getting insured, but so many Americans, close to 1 out of every 3 Americans, are still either not insured, they don't have health insurance, or they are woefully underinsured. And of course, healthcare costs are soaring through the roof every single day. And it's very difficult to get ahead financially and to continue through these 5 levels of financial freedom if you have to worry about bankruptcy due to a health issue. Now, one of the good things, I guess, you can look at it from both sides of the coin, but one of the things about Obamacare is that now you can get sick and then get health insurance.
Yeah, because before that, you were just out of luck. I mean, if you got sick and you started knocking on Blue Cross Blue Shield's door, they're going to say tough.
Right. Now you cannot be turned away due to a pre-existing condition. So
yeah, the game has definitely changed on health insurance.
It has
and
changed.
The verdict is still out on how long that's going to last. We don't know if, Obamacare will be repealed. I tell you, before Obamacare came into force, the lack of health insurance on the part of young people's financial plans was one of the worst things. I mean, it was the number one creator of bankruptcy, the number one cause of foreclosure. Again, sickness, illness, health-related problems, and no health insurance to cover it.
That's right. I mean, Jerry and I personally know individuals who have had to file bankruptcy because the wife just got sick one night, needed to go to the emergency room, and ended up having emergency surgery right then and there, and had no health insurance. So you don't want to be that person who ends up, this couple was doing okay financially and then filed bankruptcy because of the medical bills. Now, keep in mind, if you do wait until you get sick to get health insurance, you will still pay a pretty outrageous premium. So we definitely don't recommend that. But we do know now that you can get health insurance no matter what. You can get it. You cannot be denied.
So we have disability insurance, health insurance, and then finally we have something called long-term care insurance. Now, this is something that's very important for those who know for sure that something runs in their family. God forbid you have Alzheimer's in your family. I have that in my family, and it spooks me. It scares me. I hate that disease, that Alzheimer's disease. I saw what it did to my relatives, and I dread that I would have to put Jennifer through that if something like that were to happen to me. But how can I protect her from that? I can protect her from that with a long-term care insurance policy. And what this simply does is it allows me to have a budget. The insurance company is going to pay, $100, $200, $300, $400 a day, however much I decide I want to pay for. And then I can have the Cadillac plan where I can stay in the real nice place where I get the shuttle off to Walmart and have the good time in the nursing home, or I can stay in a Medicaid government type of nursing home. Now, God forbid that ever happen, but if it does, I want to be prepared for that. And just like you would want to be prepared for that. So another thing that we are seeing quite a bit of is younger people who see their parents aging, and their parents, maybe they're asset poor, they don't have a lot of money, and they cannot stand or stomach the idea of putting mom or dad into a government-run nursing home because they've heard all the horror stories. And so I've been seeing a lot of siblings coming together, pulling their money together, and buying a long-term care insurance policy for mom or dad, and then they're able to use that, and that's much better than having to fund that health insurance cost at the late stages of life out of your own pocket, because that can become very expensive. So if that's important to you, those are things that you really need to discuss and think about. But remember, no one else can make these decisions for you. This is all you, and this is the one area that you cannot make a mistake in. You can go out and you can lose money on a bad investment, and you can recover. You can go out and you can buy a penny stock, and it turns out bad, and you really make a mistake, and you can't sleep that night. You're all upset, but you'll be fine. But you get injured and you don't have disability insurance, no one's going to pay you a check when you're laying on that couch if you don't have disability insurance. If you die without life insurance, can't go back, and there's no do-overs. So there are no do-overs with insurance. This protection has to be exactly the way that you would want it, because you cannot go back and fix it later. All right, so we're going to talk about the rest of this on the other side of this break. Come back, we're going to talk about life insurance, we're going to talk about wills and trusts, and we'll also have Tom Cloud coming up a little later in the program. Hold tight.
The following is an excerpt from Jerry Robinson's best-selling book, Bankruptcy of Our Nation.
Americans pride themselves on being a free people, but in reality, Americans are enslaved. The word slave conjures up a very negative image, perhaps of a poor soul being sold on an auction block to the highest bidder. This, of course, is an example of physical slavery. Today, approximately 27 million people are physical slaves. Being enslaved, however, can occur in more than one form and is not always visible. A human being becomes a slave when he loses or willingly gives up the control over his own life to someone or something else. For example, we are slaves to our culture when we go against our better judgment and refuse to question the status quo. We're slaves to our religion when we are fearful of questioning the validity of our own beliefs and values and permit others to tell us what we believe and why we believe it. We are slaves to entertainment when our lives are spent in a reckless pursuit of pleasure and complete avoidance of anything resembling pain. We are slaves to our politics when we adopt political persuasions based upon our own culture, the media, or other persuasive individuals or groups, instead of from our own convictions. We're also slaves to a paycheck when we feel trapped in a job that pays us just enough to survive, but not enough to break free financially. We are slaves to money when the pursuit of it becomes our primary obsession. We are slaves to consumerism when the clever marketing messages concocted by corporations and the media dictate our appetites and spending patterns, which then trap us in a vain search for an increased amount of self-worth through the purchase of mere objects. And we are slaves to debt when we sabotage our own financial futures in order to obey the commands of our corporate masters through overconsumption with borrowed money. I would suggest that each of us can identify with at least one of the above forms of slavery. Given the fact that our nation has a debt-based monetary system, it should be no surprise that one of the largest forms of enslavement in America today is debt slavery. America's consumer debt levels have skyrocketed over the last several decades as corporations and the credit industry have worked hard to convince the entire collective culture that the buy now, pay later mentality will bring them happiness. Today, America's public education system churns out tens of thousands of young adults without ever providing them with an even Today, America's public education system churns out tens of thousands of young adults without ever providing them with even a basic financial education, leaving financial literacy rates among young adults at dismally low levels in America. The corporations and the credit industry, which are acutely aware of this education gap, have stepped in to become America's financial educators. Unfortunately, their noxious brand of financial education involves teaching people how to become consumers, not producers. Through the media, American consumers are encouraged to take on massive debts in order to enrich corporations and the credit industry. Meanwhile, our elected leaders in Washington are the perfect model of the buy now, pay later mentality, having accumulated well over $17 trillion in debt and adding another $1 trillion in debt every single year. Sadly, even those Americans who have been able to avoid becoming enslaved to debt are not debt-free. Becoming debt-free in America is a complete illusion. In truth, you and your children are ultimately responsible for the debts incurred by Washington's financial excesses. The debt that the American government owes is yours. You are America. The Congress and the Senate are not spending monopoly money to drop bombs in foreign lands and to bail out the rich. They are borrowing it from others, with you as the cosigner. Washington's frivolous spending is done with the checkbook of the U.S. citizenry. Think about it. How can you be free and at the same time be a citizen of the greatest debtor nation in all of world history? And likewise, how can a man be free if he owes money on everything that he owns? It reminds me of a quote one time spoken by President John Adams when he said, "There are two ways to conquer and enslave a nation. One is by the sword, and the other is by debt."
You have been listening to an excerpt of Jerry Robinson's best-selling book, Bankruptcy of Our Nation. To order your copy in either paperback or audiobook, visit ftmdaily.com/bankruptcy. That's ftmdaily.com/bankruptcy.
Who can you trust nowadays with your money? A Christian financial advisor may be the answer. Visit our website for more details at www.cfanetwork.org.
Do you ever feel alone in your quest for financial freedom and personal liberty? Does it seem like your friends, family, and coworkers just don't seem to understand the dire economic situation we find ourselves in this nation? Well, you are not alone, and now you have the opportunity to gather with some of the top economic, financial, and geopolitical minds of our time. And it all happens this February 21st and 22nd at the Liberty Mastermind Symposium in Las Vegas. Join Jerry and Jennifer Robinson along with 14 other top influential thought leaders in the world of alternative media as we discuss the elevated threat level to your liberty and what you can do about it. It all happens this February 21st and 22nd at the Liberty Mastermind Symposium in Las Vegas, Nevada. 15 speakers, 3 expert panels, one amazing weekend. Learn more and book your tickets now at ftmdaily.com/liberty. That's ftmdaily.com/liberty. Jerry Robinson looks forward to seeing you in Vegas.
Yes, we are coming to Las Vegas, Nevada. That's going to be next month. I sure hope to see you there. You can get more information at ftmdaily.com/liberty. ftmdaily.com/liberty. Going to be in Vegas talking about liberty, talking about financial liberty.
We really had had a good time last year when we did the same conference out in Dallas.
Yeah,
we
it was
had
a really good conference.
Tremendous time.
Yeah, it was a great time. Had a chance to meet so many new people. Great networking opportunities.
We had some of our FTM insiders
come
down to Dallas, and we'd love to see any of our listeners, of course, any of our FTM insiders. Please come meet us if you can get out to Vegas.
That was such a cool conference because that was a conference where you could actually shake hands with the people, and they, like I was telling Kerry Lutz, the guy who runs the Liberty Mastermind Symposium. So many times when I've done conferences, they often scoot us back into a green room and they keep us away from the audience. So we really don't get that time to network and meet people. But, at this Liberty Mastermind Symposium, the audience has a chance to directly interact with all of the speakers. And I think that just makes it fantastic. It makes it real friendly. A lot of great friendships and networking opportunities. So I encourage you to be there. Get more information, ftmdaily.com/liberty. Okay, we're going to move now into the final stage of our second level on our 5 levels of financial freedom. And this is going to be the topic of life protection. We've already talked about asset protection. That included things like auto insurance, home insurance, and liability insurance. And we talked about income protection. How do you protect your income? Disability insurance, health insurance, and long-term care insurance. And then finally, life protection. How do we protect our life? How do we protect our life? Well, the very first thing you can do is purchase life insurance. And when it comes to life insurance, you have 2 options. Just like whenever you decide to buy a house or rent a house, you can also choose to buy your insurance policy, or you can choose to rent your insurance policy. And it really depends on your circumstances. I don't have a problem with people renting a house or renting an apartment. People say, well, shouldn't everybody own a house? No, everybody should own a house. I mean, especially if you're moving around a lot, or you're single and you're still trying to find your way. No, you don't need to own a house. So the same way with insurance, not everybody needs to have a policy that they own, especially if you don't have any children, you don't have any dependents, nobody's depending upon you. Yeah, you can afford to be a little more loosey-goosey, right? But if your circumstances are different, if you have people depending upon you, you have children, you have small children, you have a wife who is dependent upon your income, you might as well be looking at buying a policy because you're going to need it. You're going to need it for some time. You don't want it running out on you. Now, here's the little secret that most insurance agents and certainly insurance companies don't tell you, and that is that they make a killing, no pun intended here, but they make a killing off of term life insurance. Now, why is that? How do they make money off term life insurance? Because what you always hear is that it's not term insurance that's the expensive kind of insurance. It's the cash value life insurance. It's the whole life insurance. Oh, those slugs, those life insurance salesmen always trying to sell life insurance to you and get huge commissions off. Now, I should tell you a disclaimer. I am a licensed insurance agent, as is Jennifer. And we do like insurance, right? We like insurance because we know what kind of protection it can provide you. But just a few decades ago, a gentleman came up with an idea, a brilliant idea, that the mutual fund companies immediately latched onto. And it was a phrase that went like this: buy term and invest the difference. That idea was foisted upon millions of Americans in order to get their money into the mutual funds, into the stock market. Because if you're taking your money and purchasing a life insurance policy with it, then there's not enough for you to also put it into the market. So this was a genius marketing strategy that was designed to get people to put more money into the markets and less money into insurance. Remember, insurance companies and mutual fund companies are diametrically opposed, even philosophically. Financial planning and the entire art and science of financial planning was birthed in insurance companies in the very beginning. So, insurance as a whole for a long time was always considered to be, something that you simply took care of. It was a responsibility. But over time, they've become very innovative with different products. And today you have so many different choices: term and life insurance, variable life insurance, universal life insurance, index universal life insurance, whole life insurance. And so they come in many different flavors. But you will need to decide for yourself what's best for me. Should I rent my insurance or should I buy my insurance? Should I own my insurance? Now, I told you that term insurance, dirty little secret, term insurance is a huge moneymaker for insurance companies. Why is it? Because approximately 95%, 93, 95%, somewhere in there, of all of those policies expire, reach the end of their term, and the customer is still alive. So 95% of the money that insurance companies are making from those term life insurance policies, they're keeping, right? They're keeping it. Whereas if you take a look at whole life insurance policies, it's much, 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 much lower because it lasts you your whole life. You're going to have that policy from the time you begin it until the time you die. And so you're pretty much guaranteed to receive a death benefit from that life insurance policy in the future if you decide to keep it. But with a term insurance policy, it doesn't work that way. So there's a lot of factors, and we don't have time to get into all those, but you can certainly go on our website. We have a lot of information on the differences between term life insurance and whole life insurance. It's something that you really got to think about. Some of you might have some very specific questions about insurance, or you're ready to even go ahead and purchase it. If you want to talk to us, myself and Jennifer, about your life insurance or disability insurance, any things we've talked about today, you can certainly contact us. We have our Christian Financial Advisor Network here. We can put you in touch with somebody in your area. Simply call us at 800-609-5530. That is 800-609-5530. Just press option 1, and we've been more than happy to connect you with somebody in your area who can help you. Before we bring our level 2 discussion to a close, the very end of level 2 is estate planning, wills, and trusts. Now, currently, about 1 out of every 2 families in the country has a will. And that's really sad because if you don't have a will, if you don't go down and have an attorney drop a will, or if you don't actually go down and to Office Depot and pick up a simple will template or download one off the internet, LegalZoom, or one of these different places, and actually have one of those on file, then your state, by default, has a will waiting for you. And you won't like the way that they divvy up your assets and the way they put them through probate. So it's very important for you to have a will drafted.
Yes, and one of the main things with families is if you have children, you definitely want to specify who you would want to take care of those children should both parents or just you should pass. If you're a single parent, you definitely do not want the state to have that type of control over who gets to raise your children.
Yeah, just at the very worst possible time. I mean, these are terrible things to think about. I know it's kind of morbid, but these are things that are just reality. These are things that happen to us, and so we have to be prepared. I remember when I was a financial advisor hearing so many heartbreaking stories, seeing them in front of my eyes. Children who their parents were not financially prepared, they didn't have life insurance, they didn't have a will, they didn't have guardianship set up for their children. So at the time that these children, they lose their parents, and just at the time that they need their family most surrounded around them and huddled around them, what they find instead are family members bickering and arguing over who's going to take care of the child because mom and dad did not sit down and say, here's who we want to be the guardian, and put it in black and white. It would have required them turning off the TV and spending just a little bit of money. You can even do it for free, what they call a holographic will. If you just write something on a piece of paper and you put it in a file, when you pass, many judges have a precedent of upholding those holographic wills. If you write it out yourself in your handwriting and you sign it, but I'm not saying that's what you should do. I'm just saying that if that's, if you don't have any money at all, that's all you have, those have a precedent for being upheld in a court of law, but I wouldn't gamble on that. I would much rather have one drafted by an attorney, or at the very least, have one downloaded off the internet and filled out. But I would highly urge you to meet with an attorney if you can, because they'll often ask you probing questions that you may never have thought of before and really provide a lot of value back to you. But wills are very important. Guardianship for your children, very important. Durable power of attorney for finances. if you are ever in a situation where your spouse is not able or becomes incapacitated and you have to make a phone call to different bill collectors or companies or creditors or whatever, you'll find that some companies like telephone companies, cell phone companies, they will not talk to you if you're not on the account. And so what are you going to do if your spouse is incapacitated and you have to take care of something? Well, the way around that is to have an attorney draw up a durable power of attorney, which gives you the legal authority to speak on the behalf of that person, like your spouse, in the event that he or she becomes incapacitated. Now, there's obviously a lot more to estate planning that often involves tax savings, but that's not really what we're doing here in level 2 quite yet. We're wanting to just basically lay the foundation and answer all the questions. Do we want life insurance? Are we prepared, or is our family prepared if we decide not to get it? If we don't get life insurance, will our family still be okay? We have to ask that question now, because we can't come back from the grave and change it. We just can't. And that's really how you decide this. Let's just put yourself right there. You're a man, you have a wife, and let's say tonight you don't wake up. And let's say just miraculously you could come back from the dead just for a moment to buy a life insurance policy. How much would you buy if you could come back for just a minute? How much would you buy? And if you say, I would buy as much as I possibly could, then that's how much you should buy. Right? That's how much you should buy right now. Just like we said before, if your house burns down, do you want to build half of it or do you want to rebuild the whole thing? If your car gets destroyed or stolen, do you want a check to cover half of it or do you want a check to cover the whole thing? And the way that an insurance company will determine how much insurance you can get is based upon your human economic life value. Some people have the impression they can walk in off the street to an insurance company and buy $50 billion worth of life insurance, well, wouldn't that be nice? That's what the mob used to do. They would buy insurance on people and then knock them off, and collect it. Well, you can't do that anymore, and you certainly cannot purchase more insurance on yourself than your human economic life value will sustain. How do you determine that? Well, again, it goes back to your income and your life expectancy. So if you're that 35-year-old person and you're earning $50,000 a year and you're going to make it out to age 65, then you're probably going to qualify for about $1.5 million, maybe a bit more if you can prove the need for it. But many people are surprised that they can't buy as much as they might want. They can only buy up to a certain amount. I've even had people who walked in to buy life insurance before in the past, and they couldn't buy it at all because something in their family history or something in their own health report that came back. So life insurance is not a right. It's not a right. It's something that you have to qualify for, and it's something that you should really consider. Is it something that I want to have? Is it something that would be important to my family? And once you make that decision, then you take the action that's necessary. Now remember, none of these things you have to do before you move on to level 3. You don't have to go out and buy you don't have to buy health insurance and long-term care insurance and disability insurance. It's not required. But what is required is you sit down and have that moment, that come to Jesus moment, and you say, if I don't buy disability insurance and I become disabled, this is what's going to happen to me. Is that acceptable? And if it's acceptable for you, then you move on. That's all you do. You just check the box and move on. But if it's not acceptable to you, you need to do something about it before you move on to the next level. All right, enough about insurance and morbid things like, premature death and disability. I'm sorry to bring you down on a Saturday. These are just important topics, things that we've got to talk about. But you know what sounds more fun right now? Let's talk about some gold and silver. How about that?
Follow the Money Weekly presents your precious metals market update. Here's Tom Cloud.
Well, certainly we're off to a great start in 2014. We've seen gold rise from 1207 to 1250, and we've seen palladium go from 719 to 750, and we've seen silver go from 1950 to 2035. So all these are up 4-5% for the first part of the year, and now we expect that to accelerate. Today, as we record this on Friday, there is the article out about China's gold reserves. In April 2009, they had 1,054 tons as reported on the World Gold Council website, and they're getting ready to release before March the 1st the December 2013 numbers. Jeff Nichols, one of the top reporters, is reporting that the number is going to be 2,710 tons that the Bank of China now owns. So they've gone from 1,054 tons in April 2009 to 2,710 tons in December 2013, which has jumped them from the 9th largest holder of gold in 2009 to the 4th. And certainly there are many people out there that believe the United States doesn't have near the gold they say they have because they continue to refuse to do an audit of it. So the thing now is, how long will it be before China has the largest amount of gold? And certainly with the amount of average they're doing, buying 10 to 30-something tons per month, this won't take long before they'll move into number one, and that is certainly a major factor in the gold market. We've also had some very interesting things happen this week with Morgan Stanley, a major brokerage firm, raising their average on gold to $1,313, and specifically saying the last quarter of the year they think will be over $1,400 per ounce. So that is very interesting because at $1,400 per ounce, that would give us a year that would be somewhere in the neighborhood of 16% up in 2014. So we're starting to see these, and certainly our business has picked up as people are very happy at the prices to be buying gold and silver, especially with the numbers continuing to come out for the amount of growth in the money supplies for 2013. We've seen the latest one where Japan was over 80% trying to stave off a recession over there. They're now printing money at rates that are far higher than ours. So whether you want to wait as a technical buyer to wait till the spot price hits $12.55 on gold, we're only about $5 or $6 away. Silver, technical buying at $20.50, we're at $20.38. So certainly it could pull back, but I'm very comfortable in both of those. And every week for the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've continued to talk about palladium, and now the news is even getting more severe, and we're seeing the price continue to move up stronger than both gold and silver this year. And I would continue to say keep adding palladium, and certainly some of you have done it and have been very pleased. And all I can tell you is I would keep buying palladium as hard and as fast as you can, because we see that metal at over 800 this year, and it could turn loose and go up to the 900, even some people predicting 1,000 by the end of 2015. So I strongly urge you to continue to add to your palladium as well as gold and silver. And then the last thing I want to tell you is something that's, after doing this 37 years, is a first on a big scale. I have a client that we were sourcing $3 million, and I may have mentioned it last week, but to give you the end of the story, is the suppliers I was talking to was wanting a premium to buy rather than a discount. I mean, up until recently, if a guy wanted to spend $100,000, he could get a small discount. Now, if a guy wants to spend $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, he's got to pay a premium because the wholesalers don't want to wipe out their inventory in case the price jumps and they can't replace it. They'd rather sell it to their regular people they sell it to and make the regular margin than sell a lot quickly and have to replenish it. So literally, a guy can walk in today and ask they could do those orders in $200,000 or $300,000 chunks, and get the best price. But to go in and buy $3 million at one time in the physical market of bars and coins, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I've never seen this in 38 years, but it goes with the backwardation we've been talking about, where the physical price is higher than the futures price 2 or 3 months down the road. So we're starting to see this, and it's become commonplace now, where the large wholesalers want to sell their metals. That's how they make a living. But they don't want to sell their whole inventory out and have to worry about replenishing it or taking orders with the uncertainty of the price and the supply. And the numbers out last weekend of the gold in bonded COMEX warehouses has fallen again sharply, which means people are taking delivery of the physical gold. And this looks like it's picking up, and we're seeing reserves down very, very, very low on that. So all this is in our favor, and I expect the first quarter to be a very good quarter in gold, and we're certainly off to a good start. If any of you have questions for me, you can reach me at 800-247-2812. That's 800-247-2812. And if you're not on our email blast list, you can sign up for that at FTM Daily /gold, or you can just go to FTM Daily and hit the Precious Metals button and sign up, and it's a confidential list we don't share with anyone, and we'll send you out 2 or 3 emails a week to keep you updated on what's going on in the world of precious metals. And certainly, if you're looking at a precious metals IRA, you can give us a call on that. We can direct you how to set that up, because you do have to have a custodian and a storage bank. You cannot hold it yourself, but you can buy gold and silver and palladium and platinum in your precious metals IRA. And lastly, for those of you still holding on to rare coins, if you need to discuss that, I think it's more important than ever that you make that change to bullion coins as quickly as possible, because it just continues to lose collectors. And now that people know that all this stuff about gold being confiscated and rare coins won't, that certainly is proven to be wrong also. So if you want to talk about rare coins, swapping those for physical gold or silver, give me a call and we can go over that. With this week's Precious Metals Market Update, this is Tom Cloud signing out.
With this week's Trigger Trade Report, I'm Jennifer Robinson. Well, we had a great week in our trigger trading portfolio. We sold 3 positions. We were stopped out of 1, however, it was for a nice profit. We currently have 3 stocks in play in the markets, including GDX, the gold mining ETF, which is up 3.3%, and ticker symbol HAR, which is up a little over 5% for us. The stocks that we sold this week include ticker symbol DAL for a 5.75% profit, ticker symbol PKG for a 3.8% gain, ticker symbol SKM for just a slight loss of 0.5%, and ticker symbol MAN for a 3% profit. We are still awaiting 6 stocks to reach their trigger price. Trigger trading is a service we provide all of our FTM insiders, in which they receive a stock trading idea every single day of the week, complete with trigger price, stop loss price, commentaries, and daily status updates. You can learn more at ftmdaily.com/trigger trade. That's ftmdaily.com/trigger trade.
Jay Peroni, certified financial planner, here with the idea of the week. This week we'll take a look at why you must own this green stock. The green stock boom is continuing here in 2014. Don't miss out. Last year, our green science and technology strategy was up a whopping 68%, and it was my top portfolio. The portfolio did more than double the S&P 500. The portfolio focuses on companies that are improving the world around us through alternative energies. In our holdings, you'll find companies that are involved in areas such as electric cars, biofuels, clean technology, energy efficiency, natural and organic foods, energy storage, and amazing life-saving medicines. The green technology and science portfolio was our top strategy, and we started it in 2012 with $100,000, and it's now up to $175,000, a gain of 75% in just a little over a year. Even more impressive is the fact that the portfolio has produced 6 triple-digit winners that are up at least 100%. Some of these stocks are up 200, 300, even 400%. 7 stocks in the portfolio have returned at least 50%, so that's a total of 13 stocks in the portfolio that are up 50% or more. I still believe there's much more opportunity in the days ahead. The portfolio has many fast-growing companies that are in the midst of a mega trend explosion. Think about it. Just like the baby boomers retiring, that's a mega trend that you're probably familiar with. The world is also becoming more and more focused on the environment and green living. Green investing means investing in companies that develop, produce, or deliver products, services, or technology that meet marketplace demands without placing undue stress on the environment or using natural resources inefficiently. One company that's leading the way when it comes to energy efficiency is one of the world's leading providers of lighting solutions for both indoor and outdoor applications. Its innovative lighting solutions cover both conventional fixtures and advanced solid-state technology that can seamlessly integrate with powerful digital controls and daylighting to create greater energy efficiencies and a higher quality of light. The company I'm referring to today is Acuity Brands, ticker symbol AYI. It designs, produces, and distributes lighting solutions, components, and services for commercial, institutional, industrial, infrastructure, and residential applications in North America and internationally. On my 5-stock point inspection, it scores 5 out of 5 with positives in financial strength, valuation, momentum, risk, and earnings trends. Acuity Brands is a good buy up to $140 a share, and my 12-month price target is $183, representing a potential 40% gain from the current levels. Again, this is one worth a closer look. It's Acuity Brands, ticker symbol AYI, worth a closer look. This is Jay Peroni, Certified Financial Planner, signing off for the Idea of the Week. We'll see you again next week.
Well, friends, that brings us to the end of our program. Thank you so much for choosing to allow me into your life each and every week. It is an honor and a privilege to be a part of yours as well. If you're an FTM insider, be sure to keep your eyes on your email inbox this week. We'll be releasing our brand new FTM quarterly newsletter just for you, jam-packed full of great information. If you'd like to learn more how you can receive that, just simply go to ftmdaily.com/subscribe. As always, I leave you with this final word, this time spoken by the former President John F. Kennedy, when he said the time to repair the roof is when the sun is shining. Friends, the sun is still shining, so let's get to work. As always, have a safe and prosperous week, and I'll see you right back here next weekend. God bless.
All of the information contained on Follow the Money Weekly Radio is strictly for informational and educational purposes. The views and opinions of all guests, including our sponsors Tom Cloud and Jay Peroni, are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of Jerry Robinson, FTMDaily.com, and or Robinson Media Group, LLC. Jerry and Jennifer Robinson do hold their insurance licenses and may offer consulting on life insurance and fixed retirement income products. Remember, never do your financial planning through podcast or by radio. It's your money. Be wise. Do your due diligence and always consult a trusted financial professional before making any financial decisions.